What's up, guys? So today we're going to take a look at the Chrome King Gallywix fight. This will be a commentary version of a guide focused on Disc Priest. We'll be going through some timings and just kind of walk through the concepts moment to moment in the fight, as well as some just general ideas of how to play this as a Disc Priest. And we'll also look through some of the talents and then just talk about some of the choices of different nodes you can go down and different options you have. So first we'll look at the talents. For the most part, a lot of the priests that do this fight will have a very similar tree with maybe 2 or 3 choices that differ. There's not a huge section of this tree that you can make a lot of changes to, so it's going to be down to just a few small areas. So for one, I am a big proponent of the mana regen talents, especially on a fight like this that might last 8 minutes. So the first one is Shield Discipline. This, I think, saw a more prominent rise to usage. It's something that you're going to cast a lot of, and you should be casting Shield on cooldown. So this is one I was trying out. If you aren't having mana issues on some, especially some of the earlier fights, or if we're talking not just Gallywix, you probably don't need these. But again, this is the longest fight of the tier at this point, so it's worth trying initially. If you couple that with Throes of Pain, which is the other mana regain that's pretty passive and easy to get benefits from. If these are too much, then you can obviously scale them back. I think in the class tree, you know, there's not really a lot you can get with these points. It's not like the class tree has you know, as many interesting choices. So I think it's pretty easy to grab this, and you won't be able to you won't be missing anything else. But on this side, if you do that, you do need the talents that spread Shadow Word Pain. So you would use these 2 nodes to get down here versus going through Borrowed Time. But again, like if you can get later into the fight and you can kind of extrapolate your mana at the time versus how much you know, how far you are in versus an 8-minute average kill, then if you don't need them, you can sort of move these around. The other one you would move this to is probably Barrier, either Luminous Barrier because everyone's spread out, or Power Barrier if you just want to nail like the one tricky soaks kind of in the middle of the fight. I moved out of Barrier just because we have so much HP at this point that you're not really in danger. You're either going to do these soaks correctly and everyone's going to live, or you're going to mess up and you're going to instantly wipe anyway. So I wasn't really a big fan of Barrier. I guess Luminous Barrier is a little bit different as you're going to hit everybody. Obviously it's not as effective, but I would say honestly somehow better than Powered Barrier. So either way, I took points out of it. You can add that if you want. It's not like going to make or break your gameplay. Outside of that, the only other real big choices you have is like, do you take an Eternal Barrier or put a point in a Blaze of Light? I'm a big shield proponent person, so I take Eternal Barrier. You can easily take either of these, and I feel like you'll be just fine. And then Overloaded with Light is a pretty popular one. I always take this. Just kind of saves you a Radiance cast and lets you use that somewhere else if you wanted to. So that's one I take. For the hero tree, another choice you get here is either a stronger shield on yourself or a buffed Desperate Prayer duration. I've been taking this on every single fight. I think the fact that you can shield yourself for almost your entire health bar at times on a 7-second cooldown is way more exciting than buffing your, you know, longer cooldown personal. So I take this 10 out of 10. I think it's pretty solid, and that's kind of like the main choices. So otherwise, as far as stats, I have about 20% haste, almost exactly, and then crit and mastery are kind of just what I have. I didn't really gear specifically, other than it just kind of stopped getting haste at about 20%. The crit and mastery I have is just from natural items, so kind of whatever you have is whatever you have. I don't really think you're going to go wrong either way if you try to just let your gear just go where it goes. For trinkets, through the DNR system, I've been able to pick up both the kind of the number 1, number 2 trinkets. So these are pretty good. If you don't have these, definitely try to like work out House of Cards through maybe the DNR system. And then our secondary one, you can sim it to see kind of what would fit your character at the moment. And let's get into the fight. So this is our recent kill. I believe this is at the time of this video when we killed the boss was 15% raid buff. And of course, if you're watching this later, we will then get another 3%. So the fight duration here is a little longer as we had a buyer. So that's one less body. We used 19 man. But I guess my point is the fight's not going to last as long as this, especially if you have 3% more raid damage and you have 20 players. So it might be that you don't even really see phase 3. We're going to cover it later in this video, but just to note, that's going to affect the fight length drastically versus yours, as well as this first part of the fight. So let's talk about it. So the first mechanic he's going to do is when he drops down, he's going to do this rotational beam where you have to dodge with whatever sort of pie slice you're assigned to. You need to rotate around the boss and dodge. Now, what Disc Priest should be doing, and is kind of now like the meta, is you actually want to stand over here outside of this whole thing for like the first 10 seconds or so and just finish your ramp. You don't really want to be rotating around the boss and clicking all these unit frames. That's just, not ideal. And so what'll happen is this line right here will rotate basically two times, or I guess 1.5 times, and you'll join in at about here and follow it and just keep going. So let's actually just watch it play out. So the ramp starts at the start of the fight, like 3 seconds in, and it'll time out, or it'll time to be about when that line reaches me. That's what I was trying to describe. So first Radiance, second Radiance, Evangelism, both your premonitions. Now the line is like right next to you, and you just follow in behind it and just cast all of your penance bolts following it as it rotates, because you can cast and move. Pretty easy. You're supposed to take increased damage the further you are from the boss. That's why being out here is supposed to be dangerous, but between leech and your insane ramp, like there's 0% chance you die. And honestly, no one in this section is going to die unless they hit these lines. Unless you run into these big laser beams, these little things are not going to kill a single person, right? You've got enough ramp. Your other healer's got enough ramp. We have enough HP with our gear that this is not going to be dangerous. So one thing to note though, speaking of the raid buffs, again, if you have 18% and you're watching this video later, this shield might break while you still have Dark Penance charges left. After the shield breaks, there's no damage. So if you're getting to the point where your DPS is so high that you break the shield even faster than this, your ramp's gonna have to start earlier. So just adjust. Maybe it's even pre-pull, depending on how crazy your guild's damage is. So keep track. If you are casting Dark Penance bolts and they still has a shield, that's good. If the shield's ever broken and you have like 1 or 2 charges left, then just move your ramp earlier. So then you get to phase 1, and let's kind of talk about, because I see this question a lot on other guide videos, or it's a question that gets asked a lot, is like, what am I doing outside of my ramps? Which is a great question. Everybody sort of knows how to do the base ramp. That's easy, but like, how do you keep up throughput when you don't have any cooldowns? So this tier, the focus has really been put on Powered Shield as being a very excellent button you should be casting as much as possible. And Penance has gotten a buff in the Oracle hero talent of Twin Sight. So every Penance bolt you cast is going to shoot out another one at somebody else. And both of those are buffing Wheel and Woe. So the max stacks you can get for this talent is 8. One single cast of Penance will get you up to 7, which is, that's basically as good as you're going to get on one cast. So you always want Penance on cooldown, number 1. And number 2, make sure you cast Shield right after. That's like your number 1 step. Make sure these are cast on cooldown and cast them in that right order so that you get buffed shields. And then every time you have Penance back up, just keep doing this loop. If you start with that, step 1, That's like a great base to work with, and that's going to be a decent number of HPS, surprisingly, but just doing those two things alone. Okay, now Penance is on cooldown. You've got about 3 to 4 globals to fill in until Penance is back up, and we have a couple options. So one thing, make sure you're checking Shadow Word Pain. Should always be on the boss. If it's getting low, refresh it. If you have to like move, Shadow Word Death's a pretty good option to cast as a filler. If you have a flash shield proc, and mine show up right here next to my unit frames, that's a good thing to fill with, especially if you have to move. And actually, let's talk about flash shield a little bit in depth, because there's some nuance to it as well. So the spell is free if you get a proc, and it's instant cast, which is great on the move, so you're not limited there. And the fact that it's free is huge, because this is actually the spell that really is the one that will get you into mana problems. If you're casting Flash Heal a ton, yes, it's more output, but it is essentially the one spell that will really bring you down to like 10% mana by the end of the fight if you're overutilizing it. Now, that isn't to say you should never cast it, because obviously if you've got mana, you should be spending it. So this is kind of where you have to sort of feel out, okay, we're at 2 minutes of the fight, we're at 3 minutes, 5 minutes. My mana is wherever it's at. This is roughly like a 750 to like 820 minute long fight. Kind of extrapolate out where you were when you wiped, and then sort of figure out ballpark, I am ahead of where I should be or behind, based on the fight being, 2, 3, 4 times longer, kind of do the math. And so if you're casting too many flash heals, you'll notice like, oh, it's 2 minutes in and I'm at 50%. Yikes. So you'll just have to feel that out for yourself. Initially, maybe just try using just the procs. And if you find you have tons of mana, then like start filling in with flash heals. But that's just one nuance that I notice, especially in these longer fights, that is the make or break with your mana. If you're pretty chill on flash heals, you will end the fight with more than enough. So, and then lastly is simply just Radiance casts, which is, it's not super complicated. You can get technically 4 in between each ramp if you do it on cooldown. Usually not the best idea, because that doesn't cover actual damage moments. Really, you can get about 3 good ones in between, and your window of casting them is pretty generous. So it's more just like, as long as you don't cap and then you stop casting them at the point where you need to ramp. So you need, of course, 2 charges, or if you have 0 charges, you need to stop casting at about 36 seconds before your ramp. If you have 1 charge, of course, you need to wait 18 seconds. So in the beginning of this phase, there's some moments where you can just kind of cast Radiance and like you're getting additional charges. The problem is they're probably not healing anything, so it's kind of up to you. I would take a look at the logs that you're like going to use for some timers, see where they cast them as a good starting point, and then just adjust accordingly. Maybe if like, hey, I'm not healing anything here, but I can easily move it back like 4 seconds, then I will be healing something. That's something you can kind of play with. You'll find that a lot of priests generally cast Radiance at the same points, because we're all using the same ramp timers generally. That means we're all, constricted to the same cooldowns of Radiance. It means we all get the same number of charges, so you'll see them cast usually in the same spots. So, for instance, you can cast one here right off coming out of your ramp. I don't, just because it doesn't do anything, and I don't know. I just didn't want to cast it when like it clearly wasn't healing anybody, but you can certainly get away with it if you want to. And then you can get one coming up here right before these Giga Coils damage goes out. And depending on how fast whoever is doing your bomb is, so they have to grab the bomb. I don't know where it is on my screen. I can't see it. Oh, here it is. Okay, he already grabbed it. So he had to run from over here through the things to the bridge. So you'll take a tick or so. You can spend a Radiance charge here if you want. Again, I kind of save it for this soak because I think that's the most dangerous part of the fight. So I'm being a little more ethical than pure output. So I save both my charges for this soak. Technically, if you want more output, you probably want to be spending them at the points I just mentioned. but it is what it is. And then the last thing here is going to be Solace usage. That's one thing I didn't mention. That's the last sort of piece of the puzzle that you need to put on your timeline. So this spell is interesting. Largely, you can just cast it in between the first ramp and the next one. You just don't really want it to be with Clairvoyance, which is easy to do because it's just 2 premonition the first time, 2 premonition the next time, and just repeat forever. The problem is Solace and then Clairvoyance, which gives you another stack of Solace, those can go on the same person. And those don't, like, the shield value doesn't stack. So your first Solace will go on somebody, and then the stack you get from Clairvoyance will go on that same person. It actually just refreshes, and you just like lose a little bit of that output. So I like to always put Solace in the middle. And actually, I think I just cast it during this, almost on cooldown. I just push it here, and it just, helps a little bit of this absorb damage going out. Another thing though that helps is just that's one less global you have to do when you're doing your even numbered ramps, which less globals is always good. So I cast it here, and then just Mind Blast and Penance. It kind of just gets assigned to somebody, I don't know who goes on, but somebody who has taken damage. So then we're on the move, and again, try to like Shadow or Death, maybe like Holy Nova if you have a Flash Shield proc on the move, but you don't have to do a lot and Penance will be back. So Penance Shield, and we're just kind of smiting away until the next event, which is these second soaks into Ultimate Penitence. And so if you want to time this out, it's pretty simple. As soon as this DBM bar is at 0, you can start ramping. Mine's a little delayed because I think I want to make sure the damage goes out. Maybe you can, by the time you look and react, I think it'll be fine. But this is about a 9-second ramp process. If again, you have 20%-ish haste. And so from here to the cast of the soaks to the soaks exploding, that's about 9 seconds. So it'll all kind of line up. So if you want to do that, otherwise put a timer that's, about at this cast point. So it comes up. It's going to go off in 4 seconds. I missed a single atonement there, but that's not the end of the world. This is actually less than ideal. I missed 2 people, but one thing to note, this is going to happen because what's happening is you're getting 5 manual atonements, you're getting 5 from Irradiance, and then 10 from Overloaded with Light. The problem is Overloaded with Light has an extremely short range, and it's just not going to hit people that are like far away back here. If you're doing canister soaks 3 and 4, they're not going to get hit. So what you want to do, and what I should have been doing, and I don't know if I did it, I think I missed one person. You want to look at the folks who are at the last canister soak. I know it's these 4 people, and manually hit them with atonements first. And then your Radiance should go on somebody who's doing number 3 soak. And then you just kind of pray that Ultimate Penitence hits the rest of the 10 people, but you're going to have times where the auto targeting just doesn't favor you. So don't stress out about it too much. Just do your best to like remember who is further out and start with them first as far as the first set of atonements. So we'll let it play out. You kind of fall down into place where the beam should be, so make sure you get out of the way. And we get right into our next ramp, which is back to back. So this will be soak number 3. This ramp is pretty chill. I'll just let it play out because there's no mechanics here. You're not getting chased out by lines or bombs or anything. So just make sure you hit all 20 atonements. And then go to town. This one's pretty chill. You're gonna get a ton of value from it. Moving out. I mean, my ramp was even like there was just nothing to heal, which is kind of funny. You can get a Radiance here. And just remember, Radiance shield into, whatever buttons. Okay. Now for a little bit of like general raid talk, because this is, I think, the hardest part of the fight, and just like a small tip from a raid leader to whoever watching this is going to be doing progression. This sequence here, where you have the huge tank bomb, right? This huge tank explosion into the little mini bombs into the blaze lines, into the soak. This is like an extremely fast sequence. And like, if you can master this moment and get through this moment consistently, you will kill the boss like in a day. I promise you, this is the hardest part of the fight. And once you've done this, it's downhill from here. So one thing I didn't learn, I didn't know immediately, is this little tank explosion. It sort of prohibits the smaller bombs from spawning in here. So kind of what we did is we had our tank who had this explosion go was like less far than he thought. So this took up a lot of the space. And then once it explodes, we would like move in to this space, because then the follow-up bombs won't harass us as much. So it explodes, we move in. Now you see the pile of bombs that get put on the ground here, these little ones, they're like less likely to be in this line. So if we move up, let's let them explode for a visual effect. You see how they're all back here? When we move forward, this space is generally clear, which is great. 2, with the people at the blaze line should move up as best they can. Like, obviously this is kind of hard, so make sure if you're one of these folks that have the lines pointing back towards the raid, that you go further than you think, because you cannot have these hit us while we're baiting. So try to bring these like as best you can, which makes the most sense with these lines. But like, if you go backwards with the blaze lines, you're just never gonna make it. So that's another thing. So try to go sideways, diagonal, try to go these directions with the blaze lines. And even this one's kind of tricky. I almost would say like, you want to go towards the stuff and just like do your best. If you're this person, it's like you're going as far up as you can, so this line maybe tapers off and doesn't hit them. And then lastly, watch this cast. Focus on this beam cast right here. When this is at 0.0001, then you call move and you go. Like, you got to anticipate this timer hitting 0, and you guys are jetting to these canisters. There's a lot of shit. This looks super scary. Just trust that these circles are not a thing. Even if you're standing in one of these, just don't move. If this circle, this red bomb is like over here, one single bomb is absolutely fine. Just literally eat it. It's not going to kill you. They don't do that much damage. Like, you can't be scampering away and like running away from all this stuff, because you're never going to get these soaks. And then just run to the soaks, bait the beam first, go. Like, I'm, you know, you see how fast I was going. So like 3, 2, 1, 0. I'm already moving. Like, get there, you know. These are the hardest ones, so make sure you've got people who are ready. Tanks can be in these. And if you lived right here, like, you will see so much more of the fight once you can get past this moment. So just like a little bit of a small general tip. So then let's roll it back for priest stuff. So this moment's hard, as I described. There's a lot going on. It's gonna be tough to get atonements out, but I put a general reminder for myself right here. Just ramp. It doesn't matter how many I get. If I get 2 or 3, if I get 6 or 7, I just want to do as many as I can while dodging. So if I don't get any mechanics, it's a little easier. If I get a blaze line, obviously it's harder. I'm focusing on that. Like, do what you can to just get atonements. That's all I'll say, because you want as many as you can for this soak. So here we go. I'm just like trying to click as best I can. I get, you know, however many that was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish. Pretty good, right? Bait the stuff. And then you've got some radiance charges. So you can spam radiance 1, radiance 2, and then heal. So it's a decent chunk of healing here. Flash heal, smites, independence, another shield. Cool. Now, if you did that, if you spent both charges there, then you're not going to have a lot for this one, and that's fine. This is probably your weakest set. So just spend your single radiance here. Do what you can. Flash shield procs, shield proc, or shields. Penance on the move. Don't shield and penance like I did. And now you're into the last absorb, which isn't really that bad. This one is, yes, you're dodging a little bit, but the dodging is not as hectic because you don't have to really be in a certain location. If you have like blaze line or you're dodging bombs, You can kind of dodge anywhere you need to because you're not soaking after this. So just get your ramp out, avoid the orbs, don't step into them. They're going to be right next to you. And just get all your 20 atonements and blast this healing absorb off. Now, one thing to note, this is the start of the intermission. So here's like the halfway point. If you were assigned to side number 1 or side number 2, try to like use your penance bolts, all 4, to like penance and then like walk towards where you need to go. So if you're on side 2 like I am, get into place while casting penance. That way you're not scrambling to do it after the fact. You can preemptively get where you need to be. All right, so then phase 2. Phase 2 is a lot easier, both in mechanics, as you might have heard, and just for healing in general. This is the healing check definitely goes down in phase 2. So now we'll still talk about sort of the best, ways to get the most output, but for your progression, if you honestly just focus on triage healing a set number of people based on a set number of events that they might get hit from, it's going to go a long way. But you can get a radiance off the start of this intermission, and now we're kind of doing the bombing run. The bombing run, the only folks that are going to take damage are people who walk over these laser lines. And they're going to happen a ton because folks are in the wrong spot. It looks really innocuous to run over these, but they will take like 75% of your HP. So be careful. You'll notice them instantly if they do walk over them because they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. So they walk over it, takes half his HP. Make sure you try to like look at those folks. I give them a renew because I'm an asshole, I guess. You can get another radiance in between here in the middle of this intermission. And just watch for people getting hit. Shield. That's a better way to do it. Make sure, the button you're pushing on them actually does something. So give them a shield. Make sure that they don't get hit by anything else. This person personals. I flash heal. We're good, right? So for the intermission, just track people running over lines. This is not very challenging to do yourself. It's just back and forth. So you're able to pretty much watch the unit frames and just focus on folks that are making a mistake. And so our first ability we're going to heal through is the first cone soak. This is going to be on this group over here, number 1. Then you guys will have one, number 2. And then these guys get 3, and then you get 4. So it alternates back and forth. If you're on the opposite side of the first one, it's a little trickier because you might have people who are out of range at times, but look for the folks who are going to be in the soak. So this is up to you to know who's in it and try to target them manually. I'm actually not very good at this in the moment, but I know it's these 5 people. I should be hitting them right now with atonements, but it's kind of tricky in the middle of the fight, I'll admit. You see me trying to click, and I kind of get a little lost. I radiance the one person I know that's soaking, and I hope that atonements hit the people. I get 3 of them, which is fine, I guess. And then the actual soaks. One thing I'll say about the soaks, it's a group absorb. So all 6 players hit share the same absorb. So between all of them, if you heal enough, all 6 of them will vanish at the same time. It's not like each individual person has individual healing absorbs. So because of this, if you have like a protection paladin and they're healing themselves, that's going to make this disappear really fast, right? If any of the healers are awake, generally this won't last for more than a couple globals. So like don't stress over the healing absorbs too much. By the time you sort of cast, 2 flash heals, they're all gone. So just a little comment there. And then the next thing you'll have is this AoE explosion plus the swirlies. I like to shield myself here because healers dying is infinitely worse than a straight DPS. But in case you get pushed inwards a little bit from swirlies that are ahead of you, the fall off damage is like the line's like right here. So if you're past this line closer to the boss, you take significantly more damage than if you were on this side of the line. And then if you accidentally take a swirly, like that 1-2, you're just dead. So I always shield myself. It ends up being probably more than the explosion is. So you stay at full HP. But like this gets pretty sketchy. If I misstepped and got hit by this explosion and a swirly, like you melt. Okay. So get another radiance out for the circles. Look for the folks maybe that have them. Looks like they're all on that side. This is also kind of an unfortunate thing, is that you could be out of range of folks. This is a very wide room, and sometimes you're just on the other side of the room from the entire group. I'm still in range of most of them, but a couple I'm not. But we'll get our next ramp here going into soak number 2. Find a safe spot during the ramps, as you can see the bombs ahead of time. This is something you should be doing as best you can throughout the whole fight, but look where the bombs are, anticipate where the safe spot will be, so your ramp can be kind of less stressful. And then as you're finishing it, make sure you're in the soak. These circles do not form. The instant you walk into this spray, the circles aren't forming until like you're in it for like a half second. So if you're ramping and you're zoning out and you try to run in the last second, you're going to troll the group. So make sure you're in this ahead of time. Finish off your ramp. It's not going to be super powerful, as again, the healing absorbs pretty much. You saw there 1.5 penance bolts and it got cleared off. But you know, cast your ramp, because what else are you here for? And do more swirlies. I didn't have a shield this time, so I used Desperate Prayer for this. So when I run out, I'm not going to die to anything that conceivably could hit me. We don't even get swirlies, so it is what it is, but just in case. Another Radiance charge. I think I cast it a little early. For this moment, I've definitely died this before. So if you get this and you're kind of forced to like move back, I don't know which side you might be on. If you cross over this and the bomb, like, you're gonna die. So make sure you're safe. Like, don't panic. Try to like clearly walk around things. This is just a general fight suggestion, but like, don't greed and step over stuff. You're just gonna explode. Okay. Next cone soak. Should get another radiance. I was a little late, but it's fine. You get the radiance after. And this just repeats. You know, it's pretty chill, all things considered. I know to like either shield myself on the move, 6 million shield. This is a good example. I get cut off. I kind of have to backtrack. I'm in the danger zone of like taking like the full damage. So with the shield though, like, I'm probably gonna come out of this with, you know, still 67%. You know what I mean? That's with a 6 million shield. So I like to shield myself. Just, I'm gonna live through this. As a healer, like, you just don't want to die at 6 minutes into the fight. And then for soak number 4, this is the second one on our side. I've got Ultimate Penitence. This is going to be probably the least exciting ramp, as again, overloaded with light sucks. It's only going to hit a handful of people. It will hit everybody who has the soak though, so I guess in the end that's all that really matters, because the other side's not really getting hit by this. But you'll see here it goes off. You know, it gets like 4 people, but it gets the folks that matter, so I guess we're good. And then you could kick off into your full ramp right after. Your timings may not be like this depending on who you look at. I don't think this is the best either. I've been sort of toying with shifting where my full ramp and Ultimate Penitence go, but you guys can kind of experiment as well. You get you know, a couple, you get 2 full ramps and Ultimate Penitence. You can kind of move them around, as there isn't a huge damage moment anyway, so most of your ramps are going to be pretty unimpressive compared to what they were in phase 1. This phase is all more about triage. So try to do your best to ramp. This will catch some of the damage towards the intermission where you are shifting over. I guess it just tops everybody off going into the intermission. So whatever. And then for the intermission / phase 3, this is kind of where you might not see phase 3 based on your raid DPS. The raid buffs we're going to get 18% by the end of this couple incoming weeks. So you might just see this intermission and that's it. So kind of use your mana accordingly. Like, if you think the boss is going to be dead, just empty the bag. That's kind of what I start to do at this point in the fight. Figure out where my mana is at, how low is the boss, and just empty spells. If you've got cooldowns, like, there's no reason to hold them. Just dump your radiance charges on cooldown. Try to shield the VIPs first and foremost. Like anybody who's, you can see here, I've got 2 shields out. Anybody who's got the bomb debuff, like that should be your priority. So shield these folks, throw out pain suppression. You'll have a solace charge, throw a solace charge out on them. Like they just have to survive. And the only thing that's going to kill you here probably is one of these bots killing them, as if these get interrupted too fast. There's an additional bot and they can only get interrupted once. If they get interrupted, the next cast cannot be interrupted, and this thing will like absolutely crush the person it casts on. It's possible to live because you know you can see the target of them if you have it on your nameplates, and you can see it who's got aggro if you've got this kind of indicator. So you can see it happening, right? You can definitely external them or watch for them if you're paying attention. That's probably what you should be doing too, is seeing who's getting targeted and just do your best to like save them if it looks like they're going to get hit. But other than that, just empty the bag. Like I said, just cast your mana, watch your melee get hit by the beams and die. And then you'll probably see 1 cone soak that'll go off on this side. And that's probably as much of this fight as you'll see. So we did this, 8% with the cone soak. We had a buyer who was dead and some DPS that died, and we're still probably going to kill it at like before the next mechanic. We'll see what happens here. First absorb. I'm out of mana. I get an innervate. We might get the bombs. It'll be pretty close. Okay, so we get bombs. I mean, you're likely not going to see this. I have a ramp coming up, but it's not going to happen because the boss is going to be dead. So, and that's pretty much it. Overall, this boss is not very taxing for healers, especially in the second phase. Phase 1 is a little interesting in that it's an interesting exercise to map out your cooldowns and find like the best spots. Generally, I think when you look at some of the top data for this boss, it's been figured out like where your spells should go. So you can kind of just look at some of those logs and you'll get a good idea. Start with those as a baseline. You can use some of the ideas I had here as far as where I was casting them. But you'll find that generally the data kind of looks the same. And, just do your best, I think, especially in the second phase, just to not fuck up the raid, right? Your HPS is going to matter a little less on your first kill, but then you can kind of improve it later. But first and foremost, just try not to troll and don't freak out if your ramps aren't working. Just don't hit people with, bombs. Don't hit them with lines, and this boss will die before you know it, for sure. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. I will link the weak aura I use for ramp helping sequence, and then logs and other helpful links below as well. Other than that, guys, until next time, we'll see you later.